Yo, what's up, guys? Travis Peters back with the Increased Life, and I got my good friend Kevin Bjorklund back on the show. One of my best friends. You've seen other videos, you've heard other podcasts with him and I working together. I honestly could do a video every single day with him. I called him up because I had kind of a mindset, so to speak, thought and conversation that I wanted to talk out with him because I know he's got insight on this, and I think this is going to be really cool. The concept is simply, what are you tolerating? I was What kicked this off is I was having a conversation with somebody else, and they've leveled up in life a bit. They've gotten out of their day jobs. They've started their own business, and while I was talking to him, a couple things just kind of I saw and noticed a few things that he was tolerating, and it made his situation. It's not a bad situation, but it's just not a phenomenal great situation. And as I was talking to him and observing, I kind of came up with this. Had my iPad handy, and I kind of typed up a little message full of thoughts here that I wanted to just kind of, like I said, talk out with Kevin and talk out with you guys on what are we tolerating? Because in my friend's situation, again, it wasn't bad. It was just not great. But we become okay with tolerating certain things. And I'll let Kevin chime in before I start preaching this whole thing real quick because I can talk the whole time. I don't need guests. I just like them. I'll put it that way. So, well, actually, let me do say one more part. Here's the thing that got me kind of going off on this was, we live like our life results are at the level that we tolerate them. So specifically, your money, the amount of money that you make per month, per year, is what you have tolerated. And you might say, Travis, no, I don't like the amount. I'm not happy. I didn't say that, but you've tolerated it. You've put up with it. You've been okay with it. You've been comfortable with it. Your money, your income, your savings account, your investments, your marriage, your sex life with your spouse, your kids' behavior, all of that is because you've tolerated that. Your life, here's the punchline. We're going to dissect it though. Your life is the summation of what you've been tolerating. Your dad bod, your love handles, your weight, your health, you get sick a lot. Your kids get sick a lot. You've tolerated that. You've become okay with that. There's a scriptures in Proverbs 1 that says the complacency of fools will destroy them. Complacency, I'm cool with it. You've learned to live paycheck to paycheck. You've made it work for the last decade. You've figured out how to clip the coupons and shop here and move the money around here, and I respect that. But if you've tolerated it and it's become your normal, you won't get out of it. All right, I'm going to let Kevin speak on this topic because I can keep going, but I wanted to talk it out with him because I've heard him teach on things like this before, and he's got some great insight.
Yeah, it's so good. I don't want people to leave the chat, but I think just being radical candor here, the reason it's so important to identify this and like really look into it is because at the end of the day, it's always going to point back in the mirror of like, oh, it's not life that needs to change. It's I that need to change.
Yeah.
In all of those areas. And that's, I think, why do so many people tolerate things that they don't like is because at the end of the day, deep down, they don't want to take responsibility for the result. And until we take personal responsibility and say, man, I own this. This is on me. It's not the economy's fault. No, it's not the grocery store fault. No, it's not the reason. It's not because healthy ingredients or healthy groceries are more expensive and this, that, and the other. Like we start to make all of these excuses as to why things are the way they are. And the only reason is because of the person that is looking back at
Yeah.
me in the mirror and you in the mirror. Right. And so
Okay.
it's like,
This is
But
good.
we make excuses for the dad bod. We make excuses for and it's all the way throughout everything. It's literally, it's the same solution to every single one of those problems, is just personal responsibility.
Okay. So this is why I wanted to call up Kevin, because I didn't think about it like that. It's basically the message of extreme ownership / everything's your fault. Is that kind of
Yeah,
what you're saying?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay. No,
But where so many people, they can kind of accept that, and they say like, okay, I get it. But it does trickle into other areas of life, like future. So what we were kind of talking about is like the way things are right now. Right. And so the things can't change for people until they take responsibility now for themselves. And here's the key difference though. Most people are trying to take responsibility for their actions, and that's cool, but it won't change the results. This is why I got into mindset, because until you take responsibility for what you believe, those actions that you're trying to change will not sustainably change. Like, you won't change them. That's the whole point of mindset. Like, we think consciously, we feel subconsciously, we act obviously through our physical reality. And most people are saying, okay, I don't like this. Go back to your clipping coupons. I don't like my finances right now. So logically, what they do is they try to clip coupons, scale back. They don't actually address the thing that's causing the real results of financial limitations. It's really belief. What do they believe about money? What do they believe about their skill sets? What do they believe about all of that? It's all belief. And so, yes, it's taking personal responsibility, but it's taking personal responsibility for what you believe. And most people, they've not examined what they believe and
Mm-hmm.
where the beliefs have come from.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's this trap that so many people are in. Like, again, I say so many people, it's every single one of us. Like, our results that we're getting are a byproduct of what we believe. So we always have to be coming back and examining the results and saying, like, what is actually the root cause of this? And you will always see it. It's not the actions you're taking. Yes, those are a byproduct of what you actually believe. And so I think that's more of the radical candor I was talking about, is taking responsibility for that first and foremost.
So one of the things that, see, this is you. I think I'm echoing you, but one of the things we talk about a lot on the Increase Life channel, if you guys have been through the Increase Challenge or Increase University, any of our stuff, we talk a lot about unchallenged beliefs. And so what I mean by that specifically is, why do you believe that? And we'll talk about money here. Why do you believe that about money? So, but the problem is, most people don't even take the time to go that far. They just say something as though it's truth, concrete, and absolute. And then if you stop to say, why do you believe that? They usually have a vague answer. Well, that's what I've been told all my life. And then I'll ask them, who told you that? And they don't remember. And I'm like, where did you read that? And they don't remember. Well, what that is an unchallenged thought.
Mm-hmm.
So what we teach is, go to this book, go to the Bible, and see what God said about that topic. I'm going to challenge my beliefs. And sometimes you think it's a biblical belief you have, but then you go and read it and you realize, oh, oops, that's not what the Bible says. Like, I'll get comments, on the ones we talk about: money mindset, financial increase, things like this, and how to use our wealth, be generous, and move the kingdom forward, etc. I'll almost always get comments, messages, emails about, other Christians get mad about it, and they're like, well, what about all the scriptures that tell you that you should be poor and that to be wealthy is sin? And I'll be like, hey, tell me what scriptures those are. I'll make a video about it. And they never get back to me. It's because they've never actually dove into those scriptures. They haven't actually challenged those beliefs, but they heard something. I remember there was this huge deal about this guy who built a mansion, and the comments were literally like, man, to have that much wealth is literally sin. Nobody needs that much wealth. What a waste. And so I'm like, this one, I'm challenging people. Why do you believe that? Why do
Yeah.
you believe that? Where is that? Where's that in the word? Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean it's waste? See, I've taken the time, and Kevin's taken the time to dive into those thoughts and just get with the Holy Spirit. Why do I think like that? What does your word say? And as we begin to unlock these deals, we can line up our beliefs with this and get the results that it promises. So that's kind of where it's like, I know countless people who live basically paycheck to paycheck or close, right? You might put an extra $200 a month into savings and have a little bit of margin, but maybe you've lived that way for a decade or two or three. I know I lived that way for a really long time. I remember I used to keep real detailed numbers, and I couldn't get my bank account above $300 in my savings account. It was like no matter what happened, it was back in the day, but I remember no matter what happened, I'd look at it and be like, I would spend so little money, Kev. I'm talking,
Yeah.
I found a spreadsheet from like 2007, 2008, and I bought a CD. I went to Arby's, and I did like, I think I went to the movies, and I, like, for the month, and I lived at home. I didn't even have any rent back then. And I was like, I still had about the same amount of money as I did the month before, when I only spent like bought 3 or 4 things that month. And then I went back, and I was looking at like a year's worth of spreadsheet numbers that I was doing in like 06, 07, 08. And I was just like, and I tithed. I was a tither. I was giving. I was generous. I was doing those things. But what was happening? I was tolerating that amount. I was tolerating the income I made, and I was tolerating the amount in my savings account. I didn't like it. It was a bummer. It kind of made me a little mad and annoyed and frustrated. But at the end of the day, I tolerated it.
Yeah.
See, and this is what Kevin and I were talking about before we recorded, is the truth is, it's why some people only change once they've hit rock bottom. Because what do they say when they hit rock bottom? That's when they're like, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm done with XYZ. I'm done with this. I'm done with that. And then that's when they've decided, I'm no longer going to tolerate that.
Mm-hmm.
It could be you could be at a day job that you hate, and your boss is, taking you through the ringer, and you're miserable. And at some point you're like, I'm done. Well, all of a sudden you've got to the spot where you're no longer going to tolerate it, and you've done something about it. Therefore, you've taken an action, and something actually changes. So the point of this call was for me and Kevin to kind of just get you to be aware of areas you're tolerating, and then what you can do to get to a spot where you don't tolerate it, and you can make the change so that you never hit rock bottom. That was my goal. That's what I want to help you guys do.
Well, and I think it's so important. Like let's definitely give everyone who's watching the exact action steps to not tolerate anymore, and then to move forward and to progress. Because I think sometimes it's so frustrating when, we get on, not we, but like you get on videos and you're like, okay, give me the thing. Like, what's my next step? And then you never get them. That's always frustrating. So to really boil it down, like, how do you make sure that you stop tolerating what you don't want, is you have to ask yourself what you do want, right? It's so simple. But this is what most people don't do, is because they even have belief systems about this. And let's expose some of them. So sometimes people think that having desires or wants is wrong, right? People would say, and this is more in a religious, let's just call it in Christianity or whatever, out of the goodness of people's hearts, they genuinely want what God wants, right? But they forego certain instructions that God has given us, right? So the Bible says, whatsoever things you ask for when you pray, believing you've received them, that's when you have them, right? What causes somebody to ask for something?
You want it.
Desire, something that you want. So people spend all their time suppressing desires. Oh no, I don't want that. I don't need that. And like
I'm not greedy. I'm not selfish.
They spend their whole time thinking about all the mental energy, thinking about what they don't want, what they shouldn't want, what they can't have, what they don't have. And it's such a waste of time, because literally it says God gives us the desires of our heart. That could mean one of two things, right? It could mean that he placed the desire there, And when we're really honest with ourselves, we'll discover the desire that he's given us. I believe that to be true. There's also the context that he gives us the desires of our heart, in the context of we will find things that we desire and he will give us the fulfillment of those desires, right? So one is he placed it there. The other is we had it there, but the outcome is he delivers on both, right? Whichever way that you agree with that scripture. I believe it's both contextually. I believe I have certain things on the inside of me that only God has given me. And when I stop thinking about what other people think about me or what other people think I should have or all of that, and I truly come to an understanding that I stand before God, me and God, and I can talk to him boldly because of Jesus, there's now this like wall that's come down where I don't have to be so perfect. I don't have to say all the right things. I don't have to all that stuff. And I can literally just come before him. And then I can say, God, this is actually what I really want.
Yes.
And we have a communion where he could direct me through the Spirit in saying, like, that's actually your motives off. Like he could tell me that, not somebody else. Holy Spirit can convict me of actually like, oh, my motive, it's actually leading me down the road of something I don't want. And he could open the floor to something that he has given me a desire for. Both cases, it's leading me into a life that I genuinely am fully satisfied and I'm fully taken care of, right? But it's not on God to do that. It says, many are the plans of a man's heart. God directs his steps. Mm-hmm. How do you make plans if you don't have something that you're going after? Like for me, I obsess about the goal. That's why the company is Goal Getter. You have to have a goal. Like otherwise there's no order, there's no leverage, there's nothing that you can't utilize the gifts that God has given us unless there's intentionality behind a goal. So back to this whole, like, it's so simple. What do you want? Mm-hmm. And spend zero time thinking about what you don't want. Yes. So like, if you don't want to pay bills month to month, then stop thinking about that and think about what you actually do want. Because desire is, you look at Napoleon Hill, again, the Think and Grow Rich, 13 principles. The first two really give us an indication. And this is where most people, they miss it because they think faith is first. You got to have faith. If I want to achieve something, you got to have faith. No, the first one was desire. You can't have faith without desire. Interesting. So, that it's the first step is what do you want? And that right there exposes the paradigm. So why do most people, again, my recommendation is you have to get really honest with yourself and you have to recognize you're not going to know how to get what you actually want because you've never had it. So that's where we're co-laboring with God. Like the answer to every question that you have is available. There's nothing that God doesn't know. He knows it. Let's say we're here for another 1,000 years. He knows what life looks like in 1,000 years. No one on earth right now can predict what that looks like. Nobody. But he would even have the questions he would have the answers to the questions people 1,000 years from now are asking about the things that we've never even conceived in our mind.
Yeah.
Right? So anything that you're looking to accomplish in your life, the answer is available to you right now. But most people lower their goals or they lower their desire or their wants because they don't intellectually know how to get them. And so now they sabotage the very first principle of desire because they start to go after something not that they really want, but something they think they can actually get.
Yes. I've taught that same lesson in a different way. That's so true.
Yeah.
The one thing I want to if you notice, I'm taking notes when he speaks. Earlier he was taking notes on stuff I was saying. That's an important thing to note, people, is be that kind of guy, kind of gal. So just one caveat I want to throw in there to strengthen this for people is the devil is the accuser of the brethren. So here's what I mean, and here's where this applies in this exact scenario. If you feel or have a thought of, no, that's just me being greedy, what's actually happening is the enemy's accusing you of being greedy and selfish. If you accept that accusatory thought, you will lower your desires. Exactly like Kevin is saying. I would venture to say most Christians who are living paycheck to paycheck or just living average or just living okay, they are there because they are fighting that number one thought of, I don't want to be greedy. If I ask God for more, that means I'm ungrateful and not thankful for what I have. Not so. I'm very thankful for what I have, but it's
Mhm.
okay to want more. That's okay. Well, we'll try like money can't buy happiness. You shouldn't want more money to be happy. That's not, I'm not saying that either.
Right.
Somebody, I bought a Mercedes recently. It's amazing. And somebody comments some to the effect of like, yeah, but I don't need those things to be happy. And I'm like, I don't either. I'm already happy.
Yeah.
I bought a Mercedes while happy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get it to make me. I enjoy it, but I'm already a happy guy. Can I be a happy guy who enjoys nice cars and nice houses and things, material stuff too? Yes, of
Yeah.
course. So a lot of these desires we have, a lot of them are material. Some aren't, but let's just be real talk. I'd say 60 to 70% of what you're thinking about is material.
Well, and it's like, what
That's
isn't
okay.
material? I would ask the question, what's not material? This is, I think, the reason why I'm a very curious person. That is very helpful for me personally because it helps me examine my beliefs because I can start to like, maybe sometimes I get too analytical, but if you think about that, like, is it is it bad to want to be perfectly healthy? Then like, so if it's not bad to like want health, which is a material thing, right? That's a physical body thing.
Sure.
Is it wrong to want a perfect marriage? And when I say perfect, I don't mean that there's not like disagreements or
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like there's love and there's joy and there's peace and there's like there's that love and there's the all of that. Is
yeah.
it wrong to want that? No, because and I truly believe everything we're talking about is material. It's just in different forms. Money is just a different type of energy than uh, health, right? But Jesus promised life and life in abundance. And I do believe that that's in every single area of our life. He came to expose that the devil wants to rob life from you in every category, in every area. Does the devil want to rob your bank account? 100%. Does he want to give you living? Does he want to get you living less than you're capable of living? 100%. Does he want your body unhealthy, unproductive, unuseful? Absolutely. Does he want your relationships to be soured and bitter and rotten and all of that? Absolutely. So like what's the opposite? Would it not be life in every category? And like that money seems to be the biggest issue for people. And so that's usually where people get caught up and they like, oh yeah, that I agree with that. Okay, I agree with that. No, I'm kind of hesitant on that. And again, what did we say at the very beginning? It's not the actions you're taking, it's the beliefs you have.
Mm.
Like, so what you believe about money, even in regards to how you interpret it from what the Bible is saying, it's really important to recognize that the beliefs that you have, they are dictating your results. And if you tolerate, if you whatever beliefs you tolerate, then and I'm not saying that you just change. Travis is making the point, you go to the word for the truth. The word is the truth. But can people be misinformed in what the word is saying about some of these things? Absolutely as well. And so you really want to challenge, like, at the end of the day, what you believe. Um, it sounds basic, but you start that process by asking yourself what you genuinely want.
Yeah. Unhindered,
Unhindered.
unfiltered by feeling guilty is my point.
Yep. because
Yep.
it because
Really?
when you identify what you actually want, Bob Proctor, everyone, like, it doesn't matter. It wasn't just Bob. It's anybody. Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all those guys. But Bob coined it in the terms of the knowing doing gap.
Mhm.
You know what you want, but what you're doing is not getting you there. So, like, what's that gap? That gap is beliefs. Do people know how to get physically fit? Do dads know how to not have a dad body?
Yes.
Yeah. Why aren't they? No, it's not because of any other reason than these little beliefs that they have accepted and assumed in the subconscious mind that are controlling their behaviors. It seems so simple, and yet 97% of the world, they don't do it in any area of their life. So,
Okay. Can you quickly, I know there's a long version, can you give me the nutshell short version as to why somebody who is overweight and admittedly low energy, or maybe just like I got a couple pounds I could lose. Break that down for me real quick as to why we haven't, like you just said, you just gave that example. Give me the short version of like why somebody wouldn't go lose the weight and do the stuff.
well, it's like, it's so silly. I'll just use me as an example. For a while, I was like, well, so knowing what to do, right? We know that we need to consume less calories than we're burning if we want to be in a deficit. Like, if we want to be not storing fat, like, you're going to store fat if you eat more than your body consumes on a daily basis.
In body
That's
burn.
a very basic. Same thing with like a budget. If
Right.
you're spending more than you're earning, you're going to be in a deficit, and it's going to cause you to either need to go into debt, like take out like a loan or something, or a credit card or something, because you're spending more than you're. It's the same thing with
So
physical.
my love handles is body debt.
Yeah, exactly. You're 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 ingesting more than you're burning, and it has to go somewhere.
Mhm.
But everybody knows that. Like, so, but then why do people, when they're confronted after they've eaten a full meal, and I'm not judging anyone, like,
You're good.
you whatever, but
These are
like,
good boys and girls. They got
you're,
it.
yeah, so why then, when we've just filled up on a full meal, do we need to go and eat dessert? It's because we wanted to. Well, the consequence of that is going to be added fat storage in places that we probably don't want it, right? So there's the desire for more food was stronger than the desire for not having the love handles.
Mm.
And that's a byproduct of the beliefs of, and those beliefs are, they come in different ways, but it's like, oh, this doesn't matter. It's just this one time. Or it could be like, I don't need to have a six, like, they would maybe say, I don't need 6-pack abs to be happy. Or my wife doesn't care. My wife loves
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all these little ideas that have been emotionalized and internalized in our subconscious mind. I do that, like, because I don't think our mind's in our head. It's in every cell of our body. But we emotionalize those ideas. And then those are what our habitual nature now. Like, we don't even have to think. Like, you're going to catch yourself eating the cake without even having thought about it. And then afterwards, you'd be like, I probably shouldn't be eating this. Oh, well, like, next time. Right. But it's because we've programmed our mind to not care about that specific thing. And that's in every area of our life where we have these habits that go unchecked. A habit is literally something that you do without your conscious mind's approval or disapproval, right? That's the subconscious mind's role. So 96, 90, 98% of what we're doing every day is just habitual nature. And so you're doing things that you're not even aware of because it's been programmed to do that. And until we become aware of it, we can't change it, which is going back to what our point is. Like, the reason we're tolerating these things is because there's no other alternative until we identify what we actually want. Do
Yeah.
you want to be healthy? Do you, and then that's where some people get to the point of like, they can't tolerate it anymore because maybe they have, I know for dads, like dads where they would make a major shift is like, they have some kind of complication in their health.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to like be a strong man for my kids. And now their desire for, again, a vision of the future. They have a desire to be something, do something, have something that they aren't, that's not currently true about themselves. And that desire becomes stronger than the existing reality. And so now their belief shifted, right? They had a belief shift, but you don't have to wait for the terrible thing to happen.
Yeah, that's the point. It's like, that's the rock bottom equivalent, right? It's like, you get that diagnosis for you're going to be diabetic, and then you're like, all of a sudden, okay, that's what I needed to go change my diet.
Yep.
When we're trying to say like, you don't need to get to that spot. What if we can intentionally do some things? So let's switch over to that now. Yep. What can we intentionally do? We have step one is you have to locate and be honest, gut level honest. What do you want?
Yep.
Stop limiting it by what you think you can get. Stop limiting it by saying things like, I don't need more than that because that made me greedy, and I'm not a greedy person. If I could just get this, I'd be great. No. What do you want?
Yeah.
Get the thing. Because here's the other thing. Think about if it's not the thing you want, you probably won't take the steps to go get it.
Yeah.
Probably won't be a strong enough desire, and you'll sink back down to what you've tolerated.
Yep.
Ooh, that's deep. All right, that was step one.
So good.
Let's think about money. That's going to be most people watching this. If you are not satisfied, I guess you could say, with the amount of money you make, if you live paycheck to paycheck for a long time, before you get to rock bottom, how can we help people think through getting to another level financially? You've made the same amount of money for a decade.
Yep.
Kind of existed, just kind of floating through, running the rat race. Let's get out of there.
So it's funny, I know you're a big stickler on word choice. Bob was a big stickler on word choice. And one thing that he always caught himself saying was he would never say make money. Every time he said it, he would be like, yeah, how much money do you make? I mean, earn. And the whole distinction, that one, like, I'm not as particular on words, but that one is one that I've become very particular on, because nobody makes money. Everybody earns money. And so when you look at the law of compensation, like your rewards in life are an exact ratio to your contributions or service, you will find it every time. And so you start to look at, okay, have I grown, or have I developed my skill sets? And this was the law of compensation: the need for what you do, the difficulty in replacing you, the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. And if you work on your ability to do it, you will become difficult to replace. But the reason I made that distinction is, again, it does come back down to personal responsibility. Like, and some people, because the money paradigms are so strong, they're not going to answer the question of like, what do they want? And they won't have a number amount. But there is something underlying that most people do want that will fuel that desire, right? That's the first. You have to find out what you actually want. And so maybe for some people, it's paying their kids' college, if they want their kids to go to college. Maybe it's buying a vacation home that they can make amazing memories. Maybe that's fueled because they didn't have that as a kid, or they did have that as a kid, and they want to prioritize. Or, it could be, it's all sorts of things. Like, most money can't buy happiness. I saw this shirt. This is from, I think it was Russell Brunson or something, but it was like, money can't buy happiness, but no money can't buy anything. And it's so true, like money is a byproduct of something. Money is not the thing. Money is the byproduct of services or products rendered. And so when you look at, how do I get out of this financial situation? There's opportunities. First, if you're afraid of money, if you think money is bad, it's going to be immensely difficult to come into money. It just won't, it doesn't work, right? You're You're not in a place to receive it because you subconsciously, you think like it's going to make you a bad person or something. And so you're constantly rejecting every opportunity for money to come in. Notice that's a belief system thing. Then the second thing is, if you want to have more, you have to give more. You have to contribute more. If you look at the parable of the talents, 3 people were given resource. 2 people multiplied that resource by doing something that added value and earned back value. And the other person didn't do anything with it because they didn't see it as valuable, or they were scared that they would lose it. And
They were
so
afraid they'd lose it. Yeah.
and what happened? They lost it.
They lost it.
So notice the desire was, I don't want to lose this. And what did they get? They lost it. So that's where it's so important to be have positive desire, not negative desire, right? Like, what do you actually want? Not giving any attention to the things that you don't want, because if the things you don't want are a stronger desire, you usually end up getting that. Mm-hmm. So I hope I'm answering the question. So it's really starting with what you want, and then that in itself will expose certain things that you believe, and that is where it's required to have a paradigm shift. So you can do that by being around the right people. You can do that. That's where people would say, like, surround yourself with people that you want to become like, not with people who you are already, because you do become most of who you surround yourself with. And so you want to get around people who have different belief systems and are getting the results that you want, because the reason they're getting the things that they want and that you want is because of their beliefs. And that's what you need to get rubbed off on you. Not so much the tactics, not so much the techniques, but what do they believe? And that's the beginning to rapidly improving any situation.
So step 1, unleash what you really desire, unlock it.
Mm-hmm.
Sum up step 2. Just like what you said about endless sentence.
Identify what you believe.
Identify what you believe.
And then shift it.
One way I put, and that might be the only 2 steps. And then step 3 is get around people with similar beliefs as to your new belief system, right? So, like, for instance, if you hang out with me and Kevin long enough, you get financial increase on your life.
Mm-hmm.
You get a new way of thinking on your life. People who hang out with me, and I'll say this with it's true. You hang out with me for a while, you will make more money. You will begin to step into the thing God called you to do. You will start moving on your dreams. Partially because that's why I believe everyone should live. And my beliefs are very strong. And as Kevin can attest, I will preach at you and kick you in the butt if you hang out with me long enough to do those things and move on those things and take action on those things, because I believe that's where true life lives.
Yep.
I heard it put this way the other day, and maybe this subconsciously triggered this conversation as well, but we can wrap up. Is the guy said the reason so many Christians are poor or broke or paycheck to paycheck is simply because they don't hate poverty. And so the way he put it, kind of like I'm mashing the 2 philosophies, thoughts together, but it's basically like every area of life in your life is where it is because you don't hate it. Mm-hmm. It's basically like we need to hate what we tolerate. And maybe that's not the best word, maybe we should use the word hate or whatever, but like that's kind of the concept.
Yeah.
If you hit rock bottom, that means you begin to hate that thing or that area. And the reason I talk about like money and stuff like that for me is Kevin knows my biggest driver and desire is time freedom. So back in the day when I had day jobs, I always wanted out because my desire was freedom. Mm-hmm. And so I got to a spot where I hated somebody else being in control of my time. And it was a choice where it would just bug me when I couldn't go home and be with my family on a snow day and hang out with them, and I had to go answer phone calls and do something I didn't want to do. I mean, maybe that's not the best word, but I hated that feeling. And so I got to a spot where like, I'm going to figure a way out of this. I'm going to learn what I need to learn. I'm going to enter a room with no exits, and I'm going to figure it out, because this is my desire, is to have time freedom from a day job. So if I got to figure out how to make a business, do investments, whatever it is, I'm going to figure it out. Other people have done it. Travis can do it too. God, I need your help on this. What's the strategy? What's the play? Says your word says you got plans to prosper me. Okay, what's that prosperity plan? Let's talk about it. Let's get after it. But what if it's not God's will for you to have it? No, He put that desire in my heart, so we're gonna go after it.
Well, plus you were just being honest. Like
Gut
so
level
many
honest.
people, when you used the snowy day example, it triggered something in their heart where they were honest with themselves for a second. They're like, oh yeah, I hate that too. Like, but again, our logic is based on what we believe. So some people's belief is like, well, this is just the way it is. There's no other way, like, and so logically they don't even entertain that. Like they don't like it, but they can't even get there in their mind. But when you said it, they were like, oh, yeah, you've used the other example of when you got to go to the zoo on a Tuesday and you were like in the afternoon, and it never would have been possible before it. And when you use that example, people are like, man, I want to go to the zoo on a Tuesday. Like, I don't want to be at, like, not be able to leave because of the, and so then you start to stimulate the desire that people actually have that they've just suppressed or buried. And then there'll be like another belief that's like, well, not everybody can do that. Right. So that belief, if you believe that belief, then you will stay in the job. If you don't believe that belief that pops up, well, like some people, it's literally this simple. Well, that's not for everybody. Well, not everybody can have that. And then people just go back to work. And then other people will be like, well, that's not for everybody. Then they'll say, but it is for me. And then they go and figure it out. Right. Mm-hmm. Same thought, it just two different reactions to that thought or that belief. One person internalized a belief that not everybody can do that, and they identified with that. The other one said not everybody can have that, and they didn't identify with that thought. And so then they made a decision to like take the next steps. I got to read different books. I've got to figure out how to see how just that simple belief, when they accepted the identity of whichever side they were going to choose. Well, this isn't for everybody. That must mean me. Okay. Then they go back to doing their job, not pursuing information on how to get out of their job, not pursuing how to start their own business, not pursuing any of that. But then the other person who didn't resonate with that little thought and make it a belief, then they started going and taking action. And so it sounds so basic. I know those steps 1 and 2, they sound so like, okay, yeah. But when people truly get honest about what they want, it starts to expose all of those little beliefs like we just exampled right there. And that's one of millions of little ideas that people internalize, that they identify with, and then they never take action towards what they actually want.
So let's wrap up. Appreciate your time, Kev. I'm glad you're able
Pleasure.
to. I hope we do many more of these. This is one of those ones where I just texted him out of the blue and was like, hey, can we record something real quick? I got an idea. And so I appreciate you.
Of course.
I would maybe even consider making a list of the areas of your life, money, marriage, kids, whatever, and just be like, write down what areas bug you the most. And you're kind of just being okay with it. And then say, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. Here's what I really want in this area. Here's what I want my marriage. I want us to do weekly date nights. I want us to be more intimate. I want us to be more best friendy, and just make that decision. I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to go for God for help. And we're going to put plans into place, and we're going to start taking steps. I'm going to find out what my wife likes and what she needs, and I'm going to do some special stuff for her, and I'm going to focus on her instead of myself, and whatever it is, money, business, day job, career. Let's stop tolerating stuff and let's just live to our full potential. I believe it's the enemy's like grand plan for those of us who are like going to heaven. We're locked in Christians. You can't talk Kevin out. Can't talk me out of denouncing Christianity. Like we're going to heaven. We love God. But what he's going to try to do now is get us to live compromised, settled, lower the bar lives so that we don't have as big an impact as possible while we're here.
Yep.
He can get us to fight, make us think we're greedy for asking for anything or selfish for asking for more. And we just live this like quiet life with no impact, help nobody, do nothing, but just survive until we die. Then the devil's like, sweet.
Yeah.
Like he's thrilled with that. Like, great, cool. On to the next. He's not a threat. Let's move on. Who else what other Christian can I get to not be a threat to the darkness? And that's what he's doing. Boom, 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 boom. Because we have unlimited potential. And God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could dare to ask, think, or imagine, according to the power that is working within you. That's Ephesians 3:20. But if you notice, it says his power is working in you. And here he's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ask, think, or imagine. But you might not be asking. You might not be thinking, and you might not be imagining. That's what Kevin's trying to get you to do here. Unleash and unlock that true desire. What do you want? If you don't know, you're going to tolerate what you're getting. We're going to talk in a year, and you're going to be making the same amount of money. You're going to weigh the same amount. You're going to have the same amount of energy. You're going to have the same marriage. Kids still going to be doing what they're doing, and you're not going to have any progress, increase, or advancement.
Yep.
Time to light that fire under you. We're trying to get you, we're kicking in the butt now so you don't have to wait till rock bottom until you get that doctor's diagnosis, until you get that collection notice from the bank, until you get that credit card statement overwhelming, right? Let's make those changes now. Let's unlock life at the God level that he has for you.
Yep.
Sound good?
All right. Good word.
Everybody go follow Kevin on YouTube. Put a link in the description. You can also just YouTube his name. He's got all kinds of cool stuff. Make sure you guys follow him. You want to subscribe to his channel too, because he's got amazing mindset stuff, investing stuff, money stuff, next level living stuff, how to get your goals. I mean, he's just going to help you crush it at life. So you want to make sure you're consuming his content as well. So link in the description. Go find him, go follow him, subscribe, hit the bell, do the stuff. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.